The Ravensbrück Concentration Camp serves as a frightening witness to the horrors faced by women during the Holocaust in the deepest depths of history. A sinister truth was unfolding within its barbed wire boundaries, one that involved the systematic and cruel exploitation of women through forced prostitution. But what compelled the Nazis to submit Ravensbrück's women to the unthinkable? How did the twisted machinations of power and cruelty show themselves within the boundaries of this concentration camp in the form of forced prostitution? Brace yourself as we explore the horrifying reality, delving into the depths of pain, resilience, and the search for justice that sprang from Ravensbrück's deepest recesses. Within the grim confines of concentration camps, where suffering and dehumanization reached unimaginable levels, a new form of exploitation emerged, one that defiled the very essence of humanity. The establishment of brothels within the camps marked a sinister turn in the already abhorrent practices of the SS. In 1942, as part of their incentive system, the SS introduced a calculated scheme that utilized forced sex labor, victimizing female prisoners and manipulating male inmates. Under this perverse plan, female prisoners were recruited by the SS and subjected to the most appalling form of exploitation. Brothels were built within the camps, with the promise of a visit serving as the ultimate reward in the incentive system. The establishment of camp brothels in Nazi concentration camps marked a new level of exploitation and control over prisoners' lives. These brothels were introduced in various camps at different times. The first was set up in Mauthausen-Gusen in 1942, followed by Auschwitz, Buchenwald, Neuengamme, Dachau, Dora-Mittelbau, Sachsenhausen, and Flossenburg. The camp brothels were typically constructed as barracks surrounded by barbed wire fences. Inside, small individual rooms housed up to 20 female prisoners, overseen by a female guard. The women endured a constant cycle of exhaustion and illness, frequently being replaced and eventually sent to their deaths. The brothels operated exclusively in the evenings, catering only to non-Jewish male prisoners. Aryan VIPs had the privilege of signing up for specific days and paying 2 Reichsmarks for a 20-minute service, following a predetermined schedule. SS men played the role of matchmakers, assigning women to clients. The control of the market for these services often fell into the hands of common criminals, identified by their green triangles. Controversial evidence suggests that some women may have been marked with tattoos on their chests, bearing the inscription Feldhure or Field Whore. Forced sterilizations and abortions were inflicted upon these women, causing further suffering and sometimes leading to death. In addition to using camp brothels as a means of control, collaboration, and preventing unrest, Heinrich Himmler, the head of the SS, saw them as a way to cure homosexual prisoners. Pink Triangle prisoners who were persecuted for their homosexuality were required to make weekly visits to the camp brothel under the pretext of being taught the joys of the opposite sex. Himmler believed this would serve as therapy to eradicate homosexuality. The existence of camp brothels serves as a chilling reminder of the calculated cruelty and dehumanization that characterized the Nazi regime. These institutions were not only tools of sexual exploitation, but also mechanisms of control, punishment, and ideological manipulation. They underscore the depths of depravity to which the Nazi leadership sank in their pursuit of domination and the suppression of individual identity and freedom. By wielding control over their bodies and sexuality of the female prisoners, the SS tightened their grip on total dominance. Furthermore, the offer of a visit to the brothel created a division in the inmate society, pitting prisoners against one another for the chance to experience a fleeting moment of respite from their harrowing reality. The camp brothels, known as Sonderbauten or special buildings, became a macabre interface of violence and sexuality within the concentration camp system. Only the SS held power and control within these spaces, while even a limited number of privileged male inmates were afforded opportunities for involvement. The brothel served as a harrowing reminder that within the walls of the camps, exploitation, torture, and murder permeated every aspect of life. This abhorrent practice extended across 10 concentration camps, persisting until the camp's eventual liquidation in 1944 and 45. The presence of these brothels stands as a testament to the depths of depravity that the SS was willing to sink into, further tarnishing the already dark history of the Holocaust. During World War II, Nazi Germany expanded its web of cruelty and control by establishing military brothels, known as Militarbordell, throughout occupied Europe. These brothels, numbering around 500 until 1942, were either purpose-built or repurposed from existing establishments. Confiscated hotels and various other buildings were transformed into guarded facilities operated by the Wehrmacht, catering to the needs of both Wehrmacht and SS soldiers. These military brothels served as temporary sanctuaries for soldiers on the move or those withdrawn from the front lines. However, the dark reality behind these seemingly ordinary buildings was the forced servitude of European women. According to documented records, at least 34,140 women from occupied countries were coerced into serving as prostitutes, their lives reduced to mere objects of pleasure for the occupiers. In Eastern Europe, the horror intensified as teenage girls and women were kidnapped from the streets during ruthless German military and police roundups. These brutal operations, known as Lepanka in Polish or Rafle in French, snatched innocent victims from their communities, forcibly thrusting them into a life of sexual slavery within the confines of the military brothels. The establishment of these military brothels symbolized the insidious nature of Nazi domination, where not only lives were brutally oppressed, but bodies were commodified for the pleasure of occupying forces. The brutal reality of forced prostitution within the Ravensbrück and Auschwitz concentration camps is a long-suppressed chapter in European history that has only recently begun to be acknowledged. The director of the Ravensbrück Memorial Site, Inza Eckebach, has shed light on the torment endured by at least 200 predominantly German women who were enslaved in these camps. This previously taboo subject has exposed the paralyzing trauma, shame, and scorn suffered by these women. The majority of the sex workers were snatched from Ravensbrück and Auschwitz and transported to makeshift brothels established in 10 camps across Nazi-occupied territories. These women, imprisoned for so-called antisocial behavior, were arbitrarily labeled as societal outcasts, a category that included prostitutes, as well as those with suspected political affiliations or relationships with Jews. Regular testing for sexually transmitted diseases was conducted on the prostitutes to prevent outbreaks within the camps. Any pregnancies that occurred were forcefully terminated through abortion. It is tragically ironic that while the Nazis attempted to regulate prostitution in German cities, they institutionalized and tightly controlled it within the concentration camps. Some women, in desperate attempts to escape the life-threatening conditions of the camps, volunteered for service in the brothels, enticed by the false promise of early release. Others were completely unaware of their grim fate until the first patrons were ushered in, confronted with a horrifying reality they never could have imagined. The women who endured the horrors of the military brothels not only suffered physical abuse, but also endured profound psychological trauma, which left lasting scars. The shame and stigma associated with their experiences often prevented them from seeking reparations or speaking out about their ordeal after their liberation in 1945. The weight of their suffering remained hidden and silent for years. Continuing the effort to expose the truth, a new exhibit at Ravensbrück provides a platform for survivors to share their stories through filmed interviews, photographs, and documents. The findings of forced prostitution in the concentration camps of Ravensbrück and Uckermark provide a shocking and sad view into the lives of those who endured within their walls. Through first-hand testimony and historical documentation, we gain insight into the unthinkable experiences of the tens of thousands of women, children, men, and adolescent girls who were held hostage in these camps. The sobering numbers paint a bleak picture, with an estimated 40,000 detainees dying as a result of brutality and disease during their imprisonment. Their experiences were long concealed, but an exhibition in Vienna in 2005 brought this secret truth to light. This groundbreaking exhibit pays honor to their memory, while also demonstrating the tenacity of those who survived. The exhibition attempted to face the unspeakable anguish endured by numerous women during their imprisonment by shining a light on the heinous crime of forced prostitution. It serves as an important reminder of the depths of human agony, as well as the urgent necessity to address and remember the horrors committed during this dark period of history.